Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I'm here with my new friend, Ellie Tami, with Gordon Aylworth and Tami, who is also serving as the treasurer of the NCBA, or National Creditors Bar Association. How are you doing today, Ellie?
I'm doing great, Adam. Thanks so much for having me on the pod today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you coming on and joining me for this discussion. I know that you and I are just starting to get to know each other a little bit, and I'm looking forward to building that relationship. But just like you have for me, could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Yeah, of course. I became a debt collection attorney in 2011. I was just about 1 year out of law school at the time, and a law firm that I was working for decided to go out of business, and so I just really needed a job. I was a family person, and I couldn't afford to go without a paycheck. And although that makes being a debt collection attorney sound like a desperate move, it was just a good, decent job that I could get at the time. And it turned out that I ended up working with people that I love and who became my family. And that was the Gordon Aylworth and Tami as previously constituted under Daniel and Gordon PC. And I've been here at the same firm ever since 2011. It's now my partner, Matt Aylworth, and I who run and operate the firm. And I wouldn't be anywhere else or have it any other way. As far as my participation with the National Creditors Bar Association, I became involved back when we were known as NARCA,
Mhm.
before we made those changes some years ago. And I was serving on committees even back then. I was really fortunate to be sort of mentored by some former members of the organization who were very involved, and sort of brought me under their wing and helped me become involved just at a committee membership level. And
Mhm.
over the years, I have been a member of or co-chair of several different committees of NCBA. And for the last just a little under a year now, I've been serving as the treasurer. And before that, I was a member of the board. And I'm excited to be slated to be running for treasurer again for another year coming up.
Well, it's fantastic, and what a great organization to be participating in. It's been my pleasure to go to the NARCA conferences that have become the NCBA conferences. Even though I'm not an attorney, I was always kind of on the debt buying side and having that opportunity to engage. The one question that I did want to ask you, though, about the firm itself is what states do you represent?
Oh, good point. So we operate in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. I am licensed in all three states. My partner Matt is licensed in all three states. And we also have now four associate attorneys who are licensed in some iteration of those three states.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like you've got that Northwest region, under control, which is good because that is a challenging region and a good place to have good legal representation.
Well said. Yes, we have our challenges. Some of the states more so than others. But yeah, it's a little bit of a niche market. But we pride ourselves on appearing personally before all of the courts in all three of our states. And so we have our boots on the ground and good relationships with the courts and with the people that we work with in these states.
Well, and I love your story about NCBA and getting involved at the committee level, then getting involved at the board level and working your way through the board, which is similar to kind of the process that I took with RMAI and something that I shout from the rooftops quite frequently. So for those NCBA members that are watching, get engaged, get involved, right? Participate because there's no better way to build your network and there's no better way to participate in the future of your own industry than to actively get involved with the associations. But talking a little bit about National Creditors Bar Association, could you tell everybody a little bit about the organization itself?
Yeah, so National Creditors Bar Association is the bar association that represents the attorneys who practice in creditors' rights law across our country. And so, like me and my firm, we represent debt buyers, we represent original creditors, and everybody in between. And National Creditors Bar Association is the national association that supports us in our efforts in having jobs, in protecting the industry, us and our clients.
So I had the recent privilege of interviewing Michael Stillman and talking a little bit about the Hill Day for 2024 with NCBA. And I know that's just one of the many things that the association provides to its membership. Could you talk to me a little bit about what drew you to becoming an NCBA member? Like, what value did you find in the association personally?
Yeah, well, you said it, Adam. You're so right. The community is just priceless, and I didn't know when I first started attending NCBA events that I even wanted a community. I didn't know what that would come to mean to me or why it was important to me. But it turns out that for me, the absolute biggest thing that I get out of being an NCBA member is just that connection with other attorneys who practice the same kind of law that I practice. So my partner Matt is my best friend, and we have a great time. We love what we do, and we I think garner a lot out of the shared experiences that we have as debt collection attorneys, aside from our families just being friends and hanging out too. But I didn't know that there were other lawyers in this country who also have those same shared experiences, right? We have shared challenges, we have shared successes, and we just have shared day in and day out experiences. And so it's so valuable to make connections with other people who do what we do, people who have been there before, who might have advice and wisdom for us, people who haven't been to where we are yet that maybe we can share our own wisdom and experience with. And it sort of gets rid of a feeling of kind of isolation that I didn't even know that I had until it was gone as a result of becoming an integral part of the NCBA community.
I think community is exactly why I go to NCBA conferences. And it's, originally, obviously, as a debt buyer, it made a lot of sense to be meeting with those that were managing our accounts in various states and those kinds of things. But now that I'm no longer a debt buyer, that is why I'm there. It's that community, it's the engagement with those people and that feeling of community and family because we have had that shared experience and people do business with the people that they like and you learn to like people through shared experiences, whether that be positive or negative or facing adversity together or just having a good time. We all get to go to Orlando or New Orleans or one of the other fun cities and the opportunity to travel as a group. When I first met my wife, I was trying to explain to her what the community was like for the receivables management industry. And I said, there's a group of, 150, 200 of us that see each other every couple of weeks in a different city. Well, that just sounds crazy, but the reality is that we are driving our businesses forward. We are, developing relationships at that time or through those shared experiences that do drive our businesses forward. And we get to do business with the people that we like. And for me, that community aspect is why I'm still here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, I mean, there might be people that we only see maybe a couple of times a year, but I still consider them dear close friends,
Mhm.
and so it's just an amazing opportunity to connect with other people in that shared space. And that just speaks to the other people who are members of NCBA. That doesn't even get started on the topic of what NCBA as an organization does for its membership.
Well, let's talk about that value, right? What value is NCBA adding for the members?
Well, you mentioned your interview with Michael Stillman the other day, and he spoke about Hill Day. That was really a special experience for me. I had never done anything like that. In case anybody doesn't know what that is, a group of NCBA board members and other NCBA members and NCBA staff attended a day at Washington, D.C., where we went around and talked with various legislators and legislative staff about a bill that has been introduced jointly by the ABA and NCBA. if you want more information on that, go listen to Michael Stillman's podcast.
We'll
But
link it below.
I just want to mention that because it was a new experience for me and one that I don't think I would have ever had if I wasn't involved with NCBA specifically at the executive committee level or at the board level.
Mhm.
And so one of the benefits that NCBA brings is just that advocacy at the legislative level. And NCBA is very active, not only at the federal level, but more actively so in the last couple of years at the state level too. And I think anybody who's listening or watching this pod would agree that that state level advocacy is just becoming increasingly important. We all across the country are facing various legislative challenges in our states, and NCBA provides actually a state level staff person just whose only job is to focus on state level advocacy for NCBA members. And so that's just an invaluable resource to have, and a something that I want to support just by being a member of NCBA.
I think it's important that we participate in that future, right? And providing, the dues and events that we go to and all the other things are what empower the associations to be able to take on those types of lobbying efforts. And I like to, even more than lobbying, it's educational efforts, right? It's helping legislators, regulators, and others to understand the unintended consequences of the actions that they may want to take, because they see it as reducing garnishes, the garnishment amount, and all the great things that it's going to do for the consumer, or they're shortening the statute of limitations, not thinking about the fact that it now requires us to sue faster. So we no longer have this opportunity to try and work with the consumer in order to enforce our rights. We now have to move faster. And I think it's important because although some of the regulators that operate within the space, or try to educate themselves on the space, probably have a better understanding of it. I think when you're dealing with the legislators, if you're dealing with someone from the House of Representatives or a senator, they don't live in that day-to-day operation. They don't see it the same way. So providing that additional insight becomes exponentially valuable, even to the attorney general offices that are going through the enforcement actions, and making sure that they understand what the various aspects of the industry are doing, or how they're self-regulating, or what efforts are being done to improve.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that NCBA's efforts and our individual efforts are meaningful in that regard. And I've had some experience with some positive changes affected in legislation that was introduced in one form and ended up being passed in a much more palatable form. And so, yeah, I think that it's just it just has to be done, that we as individuals and NCBA as an organization is involved at these levels, and being members of NCBA, but also contributing to the PAC and advocacy funds helps NCBA further the interests of its members, which are people like me and other lawyers who practice this type of law.
100%. And then from an attorney perspective, you have responsibilities for CLE credits. And I know NCBA does a lot of education, both at the live events, and I believe you have webinars and other things as well. Can you talk a little bit about the education that you're providing to the members?
Yeah, absolutely. So I personally receive 100% of my CLE credits from NCBA events, and mostly the events. So the
Mhm.
events we've already talked about, a great place to personally connect and network with people, but also provides enough CLEs for me to meet my reporting in my states. And what CLE isn't maybe met at the conference, because conferences also we also have opportunities to meet with our clients and participate in other activities at conferences. So whatever CLEs might not be obtained at the actual events in person also can be picked up online or through webinars, and through non-in-person methods. And so NCBA offers a host of really excellent content that's applicable to the type of law that we practice. I mean, anybody can go out and get free CLEs maybe offered by the local bar, but they're not going to be related to the actual type of law that we're practicing. And so that resource from NCBA is really valuable.
Oh, it adds additional value versus learning about something generic that is not important to you. And I least my brain does not engage the same way with something that I'm not interested in. That I mean, just be the ADHD in me, but I have a feeling that others probably look at it the same way. Is there anything else that you would want to tell the audience about NCBA and the things that you guys are doing there?
Well, I want people to know about the events a little bit more. I mean, we've touched on it, but we have our big, what we call a big conference coming up in October. As you mentioned, it's in New Orleans. And then we also have what we call the executive experience. That's coming up early next spring, and that will be at Silverado Resort in Napa.
Hmm.
And that's an event for law firm owners, law firm executives to attend and share experiences, best practices, those sort of interactions just with the other executives at law firms. And that's a much smaller conference, maybe 100 to 200 people attending that one, whereas the larger conference in October will be hopefully around 1,000 people, attendees or so. And at the larger conferences, opportunity to meet with our clients, because it's not just attorneys attending. You said you're going. We are going to have most of the large debt buyer clients, large original issuers are going to be in attendance. And so really a couple of events coming up that is great for anyone in these positions to be attending.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to going to New Orleans. That'll be my first trip down there. I'm already in the process of planning dinners and everything else because I was excited to experience a new city. But I have to say, the NCBA Connect conference is something that I have used to explore new cities for the last 10 years or so, right? I had never been to Denver before last year, and I've never been to a couple of the places that the NCBA conferences have brought me and given me an opportunity to engage in those local places. I like to stick around after an NCBA conference because I do find that there's quite a few attorneys or attorneys and their families that will go and explore that new city. And it's been a lot of fun to get to know people through the years through those personal shared experiences, right? Like we said, finding opportunities for a shared experience. Ellie, well, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me today. I really do appreciate your insights into the organization and a better understanding of NCBA and what you do there.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. For those of you that are watching, if you have additional questions you'd like to ask Ellie or myself, you can leave those in the comments on LinkedIn and YouTube, and we'll be responding to those. Or if you have additional topics you'd like to see us discuss, you can leave those in the comments below as well. And hopefully, I can get Ellie to come back at least one more time to help me continue to create great content for a great industry. But until next time, Ellie, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you as well. And we'll see you all in New Orleans for the NCBA Connect conference. Thanks so much, everyone.